Hi folks, Todd from Icehogger here. I want to talk to you about assembly of the Icehogger Shroud system to your power ice drill. Now what we'll be doing today is going through the assembly notes that are sent along with the Icehogger Shroud system in detail, so you can get a better handle on how this adaptation takes place. Hopefully it helps you out, makes it a little quicker for you. I know I hate reading instructions, so hopefully this helps you out. First of all, when you're ordering your Icehogger Shroud system, you'll be looking at the branded drill you have, and we ask that you take a couple measurements on your drill. And this is for making sure that it's going to fit properly to your drill. One of the measurements is across the flighting from the shaft to the outer edge of the flighting. We have different standards for different drills. We just want to make sure that that's going to run nice and smooth inside your drill. If that dimension is out of spec of what we have spec'd on our website, chances are it may not fit your drill. There are options, modifying your drill if possible. Some people are willing to do that, others aren't, but that's one option. And that would be just on the diameter of the flighting itself, or the radius out. The other thing we ask you to look at is the dimension from the top of your cutting blades to the top of the flighting. Now that is kind of a minimum measurement, and that's for positioning of this hole and where the flighting ends. We want that to end at about the midpoint of this hole, so we want to make sure your drill is a standard drill, and just kind of gives us a reference point. Make sure that if you're within that minimum measurement, that things are going to fit just fine. One of the things we ask you to look for prior to making the assembly of the shroud system tube to your drill is this outer flighting edge. Make sure that that's nice and smooth. If you have any nasty burrs on there from this thing bouncing around on your truck or something like that, you're going to want to smooth those out. Take a file after them, or take a hone after them if they're not too bad. Just get them smoothed out so they're not going to grab on that plastic as it's running inside this tube. So again, we'll be assembling the Strike Master drill to its power head with the Icehogger Shroud system. Well, I've already taken the liberty to separate the power head from the drill, and that's one of the first things that you're going to want to do is make that separation. The next thing you'll do is slide this shroud tube onto your drill. Now just simply slide it on. With the shroud system on your drill, it becomes a protective case. So it's very nice for, say you want to lay it on top of your flip shack, drag it out onto the lake. You can just set this right on top of your flip shack, and of course you can see there's no sharp edges that are going to cut your tarp. It's all enclosed. It takes pretty good weight. I mean, you can set things on this. It's going to be just fine. You're not going to have, it's not going to deform. If you do set something down on this lower end where the flighting comes in, you may have a problem with the 8-inch tube. The 10-inch not so much. It's a thicker plastic. This 8-inch tube is a little thinner, so I mean it could collapse if you set something very heavy on there. So you may want to avoid, keep an eye on that, and avoid putting any heavy pressure down on this end, or even up in this area. You probably want to stay away from putting pressure on that where it's unsupported. But I mean, you can set things, you can rest things on this tube right here, and it's going to be very fine, very durable. It should fit nice and loose. I mean, there should be a little bit of movement there. It shouldn't be. If this thing fits tight when you slide it on, if it fits real tight on your drill, something isn't right. There should be some movement there. So don't even run your drill if you think it's going to be too tight, because it'll just bind. Again, and that's due to maybe the weldment being off, or the manufacturing process of that drill. It varies a little bit, and we have a standard size tube, and if we fit, we fit. If we don't, you may need to do some modifications to your drill, or possibly not be able to use the shroud system on your particular drill. So it should be nice and loose. The next thing you want to do is just simply slide the drill onto your power head, connect the screw. Okay, so with the screw in place, your drill attached to your power head, you'll slide this extension tube up so it comes in contact with the power head. We have a little bit of a gap here. Once you have that extension tube in place on the upper end of the drill, and it's seated against the power head, you're going to have a little gap here. You're going to want a little gap here. This gap, just so you're not rubbing on the bottom end of your shroud tube here, that allows room for, if you still use the rubber strap on your blade guard, you have room to get that cover in place. If you're using the magnetic blade guard kits from Icehogger, it works really well. This way you can just pop that cover on, and everything's nice and enclosed here. So the mag kit works real good in this situation. It encloses everything nice, and you don't have to struggle with that rubber strap. So now that you have the shroud tube positioned off your cutting blades per the recommendation in our instructions, and the shroud tube, the extension tube, up against your power head, it's slid up tight against that power head, you're going to want to go ahead and tighten the set screw that I talked about on the side of the back side of the cover. Now you want to go until you feel that, kind of bottom out, hit that plastic tube, that extension tube, and then you're going to want to go about a full turn plus about another half. That'll compress that tube and should hold it in place. The next thing you want to do is open up your clasps, just disconnect them. Now you're going to want to know the direction your auger spins. The centrifugal force of that drill spinning around is what throws those chips out of this port. So, in this case, this drill rotates in I'd call it a counterclockwise if you're looking at the bottom end of the drill, counterclockwise. So these chips are going to throw this direction, as it's coming around. And you're going to be standing on this particular drill. You're going to be standing on the side where the gas tank is, not the exhaust side. So you'll tip this thing up. This is the exhaust side. So you're going to want this as it's spinning around. The chips are going to want to come this direction. So you're going to want to turn it probably just a little bit clockwise of that, and mount your straps. Now, and you'll, as you start drilling holes, you'll see quickly the right position to place that. Now I like to place these straps with the buckle on the downside, so when you pull on it, it kind of pulls it up and tightens the strap at the same time. Again, you'll see how that works once you get this thing on and you start playing with it. So what I'll do is I'll just go roughly 180 degrees across to the other handlebar and put this other strap on, and just slide it up and pull it tight. Now you'll see we got these ends that are kind of flopping around here. You're going to want to probably just wrap these up and just so they're not flapping too much and getting caught into anything. It makes it look a little nicer too, to have those blowing in the wind. But some of these drills are longer with the extension tubes, so you need longer straps for that purpose. But so once you get it assembled, you'll see it's still, you still want movement. And you don't want these straps to be super tight. You want them to be, somewhat pulled up against the bottom of the power head, but you don't need them to be, super tight. You want this thing to, as it's running, you want this thing to kind of be able to move a little bit, because that drill will have some wobble in it, and you just want it to run as free as possible. So as you can see here, hopefully you can see here, let's spin this drill around. Now, within this port, this port is positioned in such that your flighting should come out about at the midpoint of this port, midpoint to upper 2/3 of the shroud opening. You start getting up this, if this ends up here past the shroud tube opening, what's going to happen is you're going to start getting some packing of ice chips up in there, and you don't want that. The other thing is if a person were to, for some reason, grab this thing while it's running, which it obviously says don't do that because you'll could cut your fingers off. But if you happen to accidentally touch inside here, your fingers aren't gonna get pinched. So a little bit of a safety deal. Plus it for operation, the optimal operation, you want that to end at about the half point to 2/3 point within that opening. So that's the assembly process. Very simple. Just slide it on your drill, attach your power head back to your drill, hook the straps on in a position that you want them. Again, if you want to just reposition this, it's very easy. These clasps just snap off, and you can just spin it around to wherever you want this located. Say if you're drilling inside a house is where that's nice. You get back in a corner, opposite corner where you were drilling prior, you might need to spin this tube a little bit to shoot the chips in the direction you want them to go. So once you get it assembled, go ahead and start your drill up. Make sure it's going to run good. Make sure you're not it's not working hard or binding or anything like that. It should run nice and free. Again, if it is binding a little bit, I suggest you just you take it off and you look at the inner side of this tube, and you'll see if there's any rubbing going on inside there. You'll see some shiny spots, around this in the inner side of this tube. If you're getting some rubbing on the inner side of this tube, you'll see it right away, and that can kind of pinpoint where to address your drill if you need to, hone it down or file it down or even grind it down to some degree. Some of these drills are that bad where you may have to take a grinder after them and grind the edge off just a little bit just to keep that thing from running tight. So that's the process. Again, if you ever got any questions, feel free to give us a call. Icehogger.com. You can get all of our information. Thank you.